Speaker, I have no hesitation in commending this bill to the House.
Split call. Sue Moroney, 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I rise to speak to the third reading of the Child Support Amendment Bill, and it is with sadness that I just echo what speakers on this side of the House have said, by and large, that Labor is sadly in the position of finding itself unable to support this bill, because despite the fact that we have got to the third reading and the issues have been well debated, there has been no ability for the national government to be able to think about the concept of putting children at the centre of their policy development. And this is yet another example of their inability to do it, despite the fact that this bill is actually called the Child Support Amendment Bill. It's not the Parent Support Amendment Bill. It is supposed to be around ensuring that children in the situation where a relationship of their parents has split up have the financial support and the ability to be able to participate in life as any other child should be able to. That's what's at the centre, should be at the centre of this legislation. But the national government has got itself into the trap of thinking that this is actually all about the parents. They've actually addressed this issue as if this is they've made the mistake of climbing into the battleground between the parents. And that's precisely what this legislation ought not to do. It ought not to take sides with regard to the parental responsibility in this regard. It should solely be in the interests of the children. And the fact that the government members on the Select Committee quite specifically voted against recording that as being an object of this piece of legislation, I think speaks volumes, Mr Speaker. But it's not just what the objects of this bill say, or more importantly, what they don't say. It is also played out in the detail of this bill. And I want to talk specifically about the implications for women, not because this bill is about women, but because the majority of children who should be at the centre of this legislation are in fact left to be in households which are headed up by women and women alone. And so therefore the implications and the effects of women are the effects on children when it comes to this bill, because by far and away the majority rely on a household led by a woman to actually fulfil their financial needs. And so what do we find the implications are for women? Well, this legislation does have significant implications on those women, because on average women earn less than men and are more likely to be primary caregivers. One of the major things that this bill does is it reapportions the financial situation depending on whether there is a shared care arrangement, and it lowers the threshold to what can be deemed to be a shared care arrangement. So all that is required now is for the non-custodial parent, who mainly is the male in the exercise, all it requires is for them to have the children for the weekend, and they then can actually get a financial benefit from that. That means that the household where the woman is leading, where they are looking after and paying most of the costs for that child most of the time, actually lose out. They actually end up with less finances available to support that child. So, Mr Speaker, this legislation was an opportunity to get it right. It was a review that was needed because things have changed since this legislation was first brought in, and it did need review, but sadly the government has got it so wrong. They are penalising women, and in turn they are penalising the children for whom they are the primary caregiver and the custodial parent for, and that is not in the best interests of the children.
Jan Logie.